Hello, and thank you for attending this session. I'm Emmanouil Serrelis, and although I usually wear several professional and academic hats, this presentation is somewhat unique in the sense that I come here as a technology professional who's worried about the changing environment and its impact to my family, to my friends, to my colleagues, to my students. So before we begin, allow me to mention that the views, the thoughts, the opinions expressed in this presentation and related publications belong solely to me and not necessarily to my employers. This session is related to many things: information security, information technology, ecology, but the main question that drove me here is how IT pros can help to make this world sustainable. So that's the main question for me. I believe that knowing the exact definitions helps us to use and these definitions, these terms, and evolve them. So let's begin with information security. One of the most popular definitions that we have been using for many decades now includes CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, as its core components. Confidentiality, as in information is not supposed to be disclosed to any unauthorized individuals. Integrity, as in how to maintain the accuracy and completeness of data. Availability, as into how to ensure that information is at our disposal when this is needed. A second definition that I would like to mention is that of the fourth industrial revolution. As originally mentioned by Klaus Schwab back in 2016, the fourth industrial revolution is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres, which is much wider definition than the usual IoT, AI, or ML technologies that are mentioned in several definitions. I see this evolution as relevant to any IT professional, including pure developers or system administrators, and I believe that we can use these capabilities to help our planet too. I would like to begin with why. Why turn to ecology? Why now? Why this discussion is happening? Why is this presentation inspired? As you're probably aware, there is an issue of great debate related to the climate change at multiple levels, from governments to everyday discussions. However, there are facts today. The global temperature rise. We had more than 1 degree Celsius increase since the early beginning of the last century. The oceans are getting warmer. The top 100 meters store about 90% of this extra energy. So you can imagine what does this mean for all the living creatures in these top 100 meters. The ice sheets are shrinking. We're talking about minus 400 gigatons per year on Antarctica and Greenland. It's a huge number of ice. The sea level rises. We're talking about 23 centimeters per year. We face more and more extreme events, extreme weather events. Annual wildfires multiplied many times since the 1970s. For example, that was 5 times plus in California. The ocean absorbs more and more acid, and this is if we think about it, we're talking about 7 to about 11 billion metric tons per year due to carbon dioxide emissions caused by humans. And we lose much more forest than we used to. 1.3 million square kilometers something like Mexico, the area of Mexico, from 1990 to about 5 years ago. So we're talking about huge changes that we didn't have the experience so far, that we didn't see them for the past century, but we do see them for these few decades, one or two few decades now. So there are many more sources and many more facts that I could talk for hours, but for our purposes, just note that these are facts that are taken from trustworthy multiple sources, including NASA, including the World Bank, oceanographic agencies, and many others. All of them are included here in this presentation, and of course are available out there, and they are at your disposal to check their validity. But bottom line, it all comes to the actual fact, to the actual results, to us, to our families, to our friends, to our colleagues, our jobs, and of course to our planet. Wildfires rate increases, desert areas increase, extreme weather conditions increase. All of these are here, are not in a distant area without population, are not out there in a distant future. So the questions are, how much can the planet tolerate of this change, and how much can we and our families tolerate of this change? So the question that drives us now, okay, we understand why, but the question is, why us? How can IT people help? What can IT people do about this? I believe there are quite a lot of things that we can do. Just think that our industry is responsible for extra energy consumption, for example, for cooling purposes. We also responsible for extra needs on natural resources. Think of water. And we also, our industry is also responsible for additional protection waste, such as the old computer parts, and pollution as well. Think about CO2 emissions from data centers. And of course, there is the global trend of digitalizing everything that keeps this trend more and more increasing as the time goes by. So if we think about digital currency, this is a huge trend that has made our industry very energy demanding. So just keep that the annual change of energy intensity for ICT sector increases by 4%, whereas the global GDPs decrease by 1.8%. This is a huge difference, and proves exactly that our industry is in the center of this climate change. And another answer to why us, to the why us question, is the fact that we may have more green IT technologies and practices, and more organizations that are interested in climate change. And there are therefore many more green ICT jobs. If you just see this Google Trends chart, this proves exactly that for the jobs. So we are also the ambassadors of the previously noted fourth industrial revolution. So if you combine all these together, you understand why us. So okay, I think I made my point up to this point, point in presentation. But let's make some proposals now. My specialty in information security drove me to the idea of expanding our CIA requirements and adding sustainability to that. Sustainability has many definitions, but my favorite one, the most appropriate one for this situation, is that information management should produce no negative impact to the environment during its lifetime. So CIA becomes CIAS, and this can be done by our main tool in information security, which is risk assessment. Just think about including sustainability in that type of tool in risk assessment. In its simplest form, if CIA risks are about the same, then one solution or one countermeasure is chosen over another due to their contribution to the sustainability requirement. McAfee Cube is another popular information security tool for identifying countermeasures. And if you think about the new dimension that we just included here, this could look like this. We have the CIA on one dimension, and you have the S added in that, the sustainability. So, and the other dimension related to the data at rest, at process, at transfer, and the third dimension, which contains the type of countermeasures, people, organization, procedures, and technology. And this could actually mean that countermeasures should also look for sustainability. So, okay, that was one part that it was suggesting the expansion of existing theory to include the sustainability, but enough with the theory. Allow me to share some sample methods that exist out there and help IT or ICT professionals to switch to ecology mode. For example, sustainable software engineering, which targets the direct and indirect consumption of natural resources and energy, and also designs, develops, uses, and disposes systems, computers, and peripherals effectively without affecting the environment. Another one is ICT for sustainability, which uses ICT capabilities to make manufacturing more efficient. I have also the references here for anyone who might be interested in that. Some more practical examples now. For software developments and engineers, you can define and detect idle systems. This will greatly help on power preservation and power economy. You can have smart suspends through IoT sensors or using big data and threat analysis or behavior analysis. You can use green cryptography, which is a great area of research as well. Ciphers with few iterations are more preferable than other types of ciphers. You can also have low power UIs like human computer interactions, HCI, instead of using the traditional human computer interactions like keyboards or mouse or high power consuming devices. There is also a development model that is out there and it's available, the green software development model. Think about green DevSecOps, for example. For sysadmins and architects, you could think about moving to shared resources. Cloud is also used for other purposes, but it's also very useful for ecological reasons as well. You can also think about using less power display alternatives like Blackl or the newest version of Energy Star requirement, version 7. You can operate data centers with renewable energy and not be dependent on traditional carbon dependent power supplies. Many technologies out there, AI, ML, could be used to operate NOx, SOx, production centers, etc. So this could also be a factor of turning into ecology mode. IT managers can think about measuring CO2 emissions, the recycle rates of their equipment, and see and evaluate green projects. Also choose natural environments to cool data centers like they do in Iceland, for example, with low temperatures. Another thing that IT managers can think is the use of accelerated depreciation for economic oriented managers, IT managers. So this could be a great motivation for green infrastructure investments. And you can also have a green ROI for planned projects, which is a great motivation as well. Um, InfoSec and compliance people could also think about taking sustainability into account during those information security risk assessments, as previously mentioned. And they can also create green service level agreements, which is becoming a practice nowadays. And my personal favorite, my dream, if you like, my vision, is to enrich the ISO 27001, which is related to information security management, with information sustainability requirements. So I hope I've given some pointers for this. So I include here some additional references for you to use. Note that there are different things to do for each IT role, and everybody can do something towards that direction. Okay, having made some research on this matter, I honestly believe that change to our current path can come from any IT role. Just remember that you don't have to change what you do, just change how you do it. Small changes are also significant. Just change one thing at a time. For those of you who are more theory oriented, information security could include sustainability. As I told you, my dream is to have ISO 27001 to include that. Remember that there are plenty of available green IT resources out there for your guidance. So now you know why now, now you know why us, and how to do it. I propose to be our planet's green ICT ambassadors. This is one thing to go into the future and solve the problems for our kids, for our family, for ourselves, and for our planet. Thank you very much. I would be very happy to discuss this further.
Great talk. I think you're the first. I have a comment from one of our viewers. One of the first to show us the environmental impact of digital transformation. And that makes me wonder how easy it would be for organizations to balance between CIA and sustainability. Wouldn't that affect their applications performance and increase the cost for going green?
Okay, that's a good question. All I was thinking about when I first, thinking about this presentation was that the fact that we had some things set up in our minds for the last years. So in the beginning, confidentiality was not a serious issue. And, companies and industry didn't think that it was that much of a requirement. So nowadays, sustainability may seem the same. So it's all about changing our mentality. It's not just something that we do in order to, protect our individual or our corporate interests. It's something that we should change our mentality in order to protect the interests of our planet as well. So the simple answer to that is that we have to change our mentality. Maybe it's not in our current mindset, but it should be in the future in order to preserve what we have.
Well, if I may add a comment or two to that, effectively, the bottom line or the profits or the losses a company makes are what an investor or a shareholder in that company wants to see. But if we see the next generation of investors and shareholders and what kind of conscience they have with regard to the planet that we are leaving them, with all the damage that we're leaving them, part of their consciousness and part of their wants and needs will be sustainability. So it's really important that we evolve fast so that we can provide them with what they will need from tomorrow. So part of the profit model of any corporation going forward will be sustainability. All right, let's go for another question. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Greek ecosystem. Intrasoft's a very big Greek company. You have hundreds of developers and are involved in several international projects. How do you see the Greek ecosystem?
I would say that we're about the same with the rest of the world. We are sensitive in theory, but when it comes to the actual application into our daily activities, we are not really familiar with the practices and the things that the lowest level of implementer, operator, developer, technician, administrator should do in order to foster that type of needs, that type of requirements as well. I mean, the sustainability that I was talking about during the presentation. In any case, I see a shift in the past few years in the industry of, in global terms and in Greek terms as well, but I think we're still behind of what we should do. Although this is something that it's very, very time demanding, we have to act now. I don't think that the rate of change is as fast as it should be. That's my current view, and this presentation might be the trigger for changing at least the people that they see this now.
Thank you very much. We do have one more comment here around whether humans are responsible for all the changes, deserts, extreme weather, etc. I guess that's a question which is more of a generally wider question, which is quite difficult to respond to, I suppose. But I'm happy to take your view.
Yeah. However, it's a very important question because it goes back to the debate of whether we are responsible or someone else is responsible, or the nature itself is responsible for that. And this is part of the daily discussions that we hear at the government level as well. My belief is that we have responsibility, of course. The impact of the human activities is very, very important for this change. But of course, there are also natural reasons for having this climate change as well. The research says that we had several series of ice ages in the past, and this was not part of any human activity. This was not a result of the human activity. However, if we amplify this with our activity, then we are at least partially responsible for this this type of change.
Absolutely. Well, there is a very famous Greek philosophical, if you like, but there's a kind of issue around, was it Kazantzakis who said that I am solely responsible for the success or failure of society, and if it fails, it's my fault alone, etc., etc. I don't remember the quote exactly.
Yeah, I will save the world. That was the phrase that he was using. I will save the world.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you very much. It was wonderful to hear a little bit more about sustainability. The sustainability goals are really important. I'm really pleased that we had a talk of this nature at this conference, and I expect we should have one at every conference. It makes absolute sense to engage more people in this type of thinking going forward. So again, thank you very much, Mr. Serrelis, and enjoy the rest of your conference.